So today, I think it's the last chapter, the last section of chapter 1. I plan to do 3 lectures on chapter 1, but finally I make 5 lectures. It's a main example for the Taylor on that philosophy. So this is chapter 1E, A, B, C, D, E. So in chapter 1A, we have defined Robinson state with Schoen state insertion, then the geometric version, then the local rule in the second part. Then from a representation of the quadratic algebra, we get back the local rule. And finally, in the last course, we make the Robinson state correspondence with jeu de taquin and the importance of Knuth transposition. So Knuth transposition, you transpose 2 consecutive elements as soon as there is an element on the left or on the right, which is between the 2 elements, like this. It's you make the Knuth, see, talk, and we show that the P tableau was invariant, the Q tableau only 2 symbols were changing. Important notion were the reading word of a tableau. You read the tableau from top to bottom and the row from left to right. So the reading word of this is 6, 10, then 3, 5, 8, then 1, 2, 4, 7, and 9. Then we define the jeu de taquin, where you choose any cell below a skew standard skew Young tableau, and then the jeu de taquin gives you this, which is reversible. And from the jeu de taquin, if you start from the permutation written as a big tableau on diagonal, then you get back the P symbol. You lose the information, but the Q symbol, if you want to get both tableaux, then you just take the jeu de taquin for the inverse permutation. And then we have defined the Fomin local rule to explain the jeu de taquin with local rule on the with Ferret diagram on the vertices, and we have transformed this in equivalent form with local rule on the edges, working with some operator adding cell on the diagonal, and this is representation of the Nil-Temperley algebra. And then we transform this, if you prefer, with color line, and we define also the dual of a tableau with all these color lines. So we have done everything, all this, without using Green's theorem. Usually there is a mixture between the Knuth transposition, the jeu de taquin, and the Green theorem. If you want to prove the main theorem, you go back and forth between these 3 ideas. So we did not prove, we did not use the Green theorem, but now I am going to give you an idea of the proof of Green theorem. So here is Curtis Green. I met him first time in 76 when he was in 76, there was this big meeting, table ronde in Strasbourg. There was Stutzenberger presenting his jeu de taquin. There was Green presenting his theorem. There was Standler, there was Robinson was there. So many people, and I was very young. I was starting my first paper showing the light and shadow, and I was impressed. And it was a very good way to start combinatorics. So the Green theorem, when we have seen this in the previous lecture, with increasing subsequence and decreasing subsequence of a permutation, and we show that this increasing and increasing sequence, the maximum cardinality of these 2 notions, give you the number of elements in the first row of the P symbol or Q symbol and the first column. And the Green theorem gives you an interpretation for all the row, for the general shape of the Young tableau, the Young-Ferrer associated to the Robinson state. So we have defined the notion of, for any integer k, for a permutation sigma, I remind you, I already have written this. So ik of sigma is a maximum number of elements in a union of k increasing subsequence. And dually, dl of sigma for any integer L is a maximum cardinality of a union, L, yes, L, maximum cardinality of a union of L, yes, L, decreasing subsequence. So if we have 1, 2, 3, so there is no interpretation, individual interpretation of the number of elements in the second row, third row, etc. There is an interpretation in the number of elements of the first K row or the first L column. And this is the famous Green theorem, that if you take a permutation, you apply the Robinson-Schoenstatt correspondence, you get a pair PQ, so you get a shape, the common shape, which is a partition, lambda equal lambda 2, lambda r, of decreasing number. So you take a common shape of P and Q, and Green theorem tells you that the number of elements, the sum of the cardinality of the first K row, lambda 1 plus lambda K, equal precisely Ik of sigma. And DL of sigma is the sum of the element of the first column, or it's the sum of the first element of the first row of the conjugate partition. Conjugate means instead of reading the partition by row, you read by column, or it's just a transpose of the diagram. And here is an example of the partition. The permutation we get in our example was this one, and the Ferrer diagram is this. And the Green theorem tells you so that the sum, so of course there is an increasing subsequence of size 5, there is a decreasing subsequence of size 3, but so it is the first row of the Ferrer diagram. Now the sum of the two first row is 8, so you get 8 elements. But this is not a good example because in general, you have to change completely. It's not necessarily the maximum cardinality of union of two chains is not necessarily given a chain union, a maximum cardinality of a single increasing chain. So it's to see the difficulty or the tricky things about this interpretation. Take this union of two chains. This is 8 elements. And imagine that you delete in the permutation this element. I claim that the new shape of the permutation will include this red rectangle. So you have to meditate on this, that if you take what will, at the end I will say a complement at the end of this lecture to define a grid. A grid, this is a grid with 2 increasing subsequence and 4 decreasing subsequence. And this grid, you see, if you take the union of all this kind of grid, this gives you a rectangle which is bigger than the Ferrer diagram. So deleting this element change completely the shape. It's increase the shape. So it's maybe not intuitive that deleting an element, the shape will, a new rectangle will appear in the shape. Also the same for column. And, so to give a proof of this theorem, I will use the Knuth transposition. And lemma, if you, for any k and L, this invariant Ik of sigma and DL of sigma, they are invariant under Knuth transposition. So this is the main lemma to prove the Green theorem. So it's a technical proof. I am not going to prove because I want to finish chapter 1.
But we did prove this last time.
No.
That
No,
the P shape does not change.
We show that the P shape does not change, yes.
Oh, okay. I'm assuming that.
So I need this to prove Green theorem. So this is technical proof, 1 page technical. You have to check that when you do a Knuth transposition, then the cardinality, maximum cardinality of union of K chain is not going to change. But we know from the previous time that by Knuth transposition, the permutation will be equivalent, will be Knuth equivalent to the reading word of the P symbol. And then on the reading word of the P symbol, it's very easy to prove to check the Green property. In fact, it's the reading word of the permutation. You remember, it was I read from left to right, from bottom to top. It would be 10, 12, 7, 8, 11, etc. The reading word of this tableau. If I get this tableau as a P symbol of the permutation, it's reading word is a very particular case of what I call last time regular permutation, and which maybe was not very clear from my talk. It's a whole class of permutation, and definition of a regular permutation is a permutation. There exists a Young tableau such that each row of this tableau is an increasing subsequence of the permutation. Each column is a decreasing subsequence. It's like this. You see, if you take this permutation, so it's a regular permutation, and the reading word of such regular permutation, the p symbol of regular permutation will be always exactly the same as a Young tableau. You start from a Young tableau, you get many possible regular permutation, and each of these permutation will get as p symbol exactly the tableau you start from. And the reading word of the p symbol is very particular regular permutation. It means that first you read 10, 12. So first, this would be the first two elements of the permutation. Then this sequence would be the next element of the permutation. Then this one, the next, etc., etc. So this is a whole class of permutation, which is less than the number of elements of the Knuth equivalence class. And this subclass will be exactly the same as the Knuth equivalence class. In the case, the Young tableau, the shape is a rectangular shape. So any permutation is Knuth equivalent to such regular permutation. And now it's very easy to prove that for this kind of permutation, Green's theorem apply. The maximum, if you want maximum element of increasing sequence, it will be, you may take this or you may take this one. But if you want to make two increasing subsequence, then you need to take this one and another one like this. By exercise, check that for such regular permutations, it's easy to check Green's theorem. It is maybe easier, even easier to check with the reading word of the tableau. So this is trivial with the reading word of the tableau. So by invariant, if you have any permutation, by Knuth transposition, you can reduce it to a reading word or to such a permutation. And on this case, you can check Green's theorem. And so proposition, this is an important theorem, very well known, and it has been extended to any poset. Any poset, you have an analog theorem, increasing chain are chain and decreasing are anti-chain. And it's a very remarkable property that if you take such a poset or such a permutation, then if you take the difference between these two numbers, between ik and ik minus 1, this will give you exactly the number of elements, the row number k. And if you take the difference also for these two dl and dl minus 1, then you get exactly the two permutations which are conjugate each other. So it is a remarkable theorem which extends to any poset. So now there is, from Green's theorem, you can prove the following theorem, that if you have a permutation, you get a pair PQ. What happens if you do all the symmetry of the square? We have seen that if we do the inverse, so symmetry is a diagonal, then this means exchanging P and Q. But if you do this is a sharp symbol, so if you take the mirror image of your permutation and take the complement, we have defined this in previous lecture, you replace 1 by n, 2 by n minus 1, 3 by n minus 2, etc. So take the complement and take the mirror image. Means you take the symmetry to the, or you rotate 180 degrees the figure of the permutation. What you get is exactly the dual, the pair PQ becomes the dual P and Q. We have defined the dual by a jeu de taquin of Suchan-Berger, and you remember this picture where here I have the P and Q, the P symbol of this permutation, which is 4, 2, 1, 5, 3. So here is a P symbol, here is a Q symbol, and if you do the complementary mirror image, means that you put the light from here, and then you get all this tableau, and you get these two dual P and Q. And there is also another theorem which says if you take the transpose, so you just take transpose symmetry to the vertical axis, then you get one of the tableau with Bill transpose, And the other tableau will be the transpose of the dual. So how to prove this? I'm not going to give the complete proof.
Transpose doesn't mean the transpose of the matrix.
Transpose is you transpose the shape, you transpose the row and column. So the Ferrari diagram is like the conjugate. Transpose of
Yeah,
the...
but on sigma, transpose means...
Sigma transpose means mirror image.
Mirror image.
Mirror image, yes. So how to prove these two theorems? It can be proved from a Green theorem and from a property. Yes, reverse order. Sigma transpose is you write in reverse order the permutation, like a word. Sharp means you write it in reverse order and you make the complement of the indices. You replace I by n plus 1 minus I.
And these two generate the dihedral.
This is the dihedral. All the symmetry of the square plus the inverse are generated by all this. So making all the symmetry of the square means for the pair PQ, maybe you exchange P and Q, maybe you take the dual, or maybe you take the transpose of the Young tableau. So to prove this, some classical proof is to use the Green theorem plus something which is called the invariance of the Robinson-Schonstedt when you restrict, if you take, for example, a permutation on n elements, take only the value from 1 to k, for example. Then apply Robinson-Schonstedt from 1 to k, or apply in jeu de taquin from 1 to k, the insertion process. But if you do the whole things for the whole permutation, and what you get at the end is a Young tableau or something, and just take the value from 1 to k. And what you get, making the whole thing for the permutation and restricting at the end the value 1 to k, is the same as if you are restricting from the beginning. Same property to say, if you take all value bigger than k, do all the construction, and take the whole permutation, do the construction, and delete all the value less than k, and keep only the value bigger or equal to k, the two results will be the same. There's a kind of invariance of the... So this is another way to define also the Robinson-Schonstedt. Take a permutation. You put the 1 in the P and Q. Then you put the 2, you put the 3. Suppose you arrive at a value k, and you have a P and Q symbol. Then k plus 1. You know it must be something, a new cell appear in the shape. So you have to look, what are the new invariant? This invariant I index k, one of the invariant must be increased by 1, and only 1. So you can really define completely the Robinson-Schonstedt by this way, by just looking how it changed from the restriction of the permutation to 1 to k, going to k plus 1, how the shape is going to change by only one cell. And there's only one index. This is a remarkable property that if you look all this invariant, A1, A2, A3, etc., one of them will all change by 1. So you know where to look to put the value at row I. So if I combine this idea, it's not a complete precise proof, but if I combine this idea, I can define my P symbol by such algorithm, and taking the transpose, all this is just changing, increasing, and decreasing sequence, so you can get a proof of this property. If you have not convinced, look the appendix of Fomin in Stanley book, and this is more explained, but I don't want to go too much in detail because we are going outside of the cellular on that philosophy, and I will need to stay until May to finish the class. And I want to finish chapter 1 today. So this is an important property that you can feel the proof. It's a combination of Green theorem and this idea of invariance along the Robinson-Schonstedt when you restrict to value less than k or you restrict to value bigger than k, and you get this beautiful property. So we have already checked on an example like this. This means, for example, taking the transpose of the permutation means you put the light here for this shadow line, and then if you repeat the construction with the red, you repeat with the blue, and you have a whole sequence of color. You see, you have 5 colors, and what you get is again some. You can get some tableaux which are exactly here, and you can see that this tableau is exactly the transpose of this one. You exchange row and column, and this tableau written in a reverse way, the biggest value is here in decreasing order. And then we have seen in previous lectures that this was the dual of this tableau P. If I take the dual by making successive evacuation, I delete the 1, I do the taquin, I delete the 2, I delete the 3, I get this tableau, which is exactly the transpose of this one. So it is a very beautiful property. So for me, I would like to have a research problem. Why to go through Green theorem, all this stuff? I would like to have a direct proof. Because when you have this, now with this rewriting on the edges, or this philosophy of rewriting on edges, instead of forming local rule, I am rewriting on edges. This is a cellular philosophy. So if this part of the tableau was a PQ symbol, but then we go to negative integer to get the whole picture. And you know, here, this was a dual of P and Q. This was here and here I can read P and Q. This was a dual of P and Q. And we have also local rule of forming, or that we put also local rule on edges to have the dual. So it is possible to combine everything to prove this theorem about the symmetry of PQ and the symmetry of the square. So I look carefully, but I don't know if it's possible, but this is a kind of research problem. So you have when you put the light, when you put the rewriting on the edges, you have this rewriting, which gives you the Robinson-Schonstedt correspondence. Now, if I do this rewriting, we have seen this, that we get the jeu de taquin on the edges. If you prefer to put the color line related to the label. So this is exactly the rewriting on the edges, which is equivalent to the forming local rule, which is equivalent to Robinson-Schonstedt. It's when you have I and j on the edges, then if the I is different of j, you cross. And if j is I plus 1, then I give I plus 1, I plus 1. Now, if you remember the local rule to get the dual, so you have you label the edges I and j. If the distance between I and j is bigger or equal to 2, you cross. If the distance is less or equal to 1, you don't cross. You make like a dream pipe. So this is two completely different constructions. So this construction of the P and Q tableau by forming role, by edge rewriting, or by light and shadow, is all in the same picture. And this is a basic rule to get this picture, to get Robinson-Schonstedt. Now, if I take the transpose, what I have done, by putting the light from the northwest, so you have to read, when I put the light like this, okay, I have this rewriting rule, but if I put the light, I want to see, putting the light from the northwest means I am going to have here and here the P and Q symbol. What I have done with the 5 colors. If you put the light from above here, then you will get the new P and Q tableau here. But can I get this P and Q tableau here by taking the light, the transpose of which will give this? If I put the light from here, how I can reconstruct, knowing only this, how can I reconstruct the permutation? It's not possible because here all the labels are 0 here. And here I have the P symbol. Here I have a coding of the P symbol. Here all the labels are 0. So if I want to read this rewriting from this side, suppose I have a square, when I have I plus 1, then there is an ambiguity because I plus 1 can be given by this case or this case. And II is impossible. So if you try to read what you get in this old tableau starting from here, you have many different possibilities. And what you will get is all, in fact, the Knuth equivalence class, because the P symbol is fixed. And here you have nothing. You have all the labels of the edges are 0. So trying to read this rewriting rule from this side, of course, there is ambiguity. But if you look carefully, these two different cases, And if you compare with the two different cases of jeu taquin on edges, there is some similarity. It's not totally the same. So I was wondering what to do. And here, this is impossible. And here also, II is impossible in that case. So that's my dream would be to have a more general, maybe in three-dimensional object where all the rewriting rules are working, and to explain this beautiful duality, complement, transpose of the permutation, to explain as a consequence of all these two different rewriting rules. Maybe a more general in 3 dimensions. I was thinking of the cartoon for the symmetry of the Littlewood Richardson coefficient. Is it possible to put this in the space and to have an explanation without using Green theorem? So this is just vague idea, you see, to compare the two totally different rules, Robinson-Schoenstedt and jeu de taquin. Okay, this is just a dream research problem for a very, not for students, but for a good, very hard researcher. It would be good to have Okay, now some people are waiting since 1 month to get the RSK instead of RS. So now the RSK, this is, I go to RSK. Robinson, Schoenstedt, Knuth. So you have a matrix with K row and L column, and a matrix M, coefficient A, I, J are integer. Can be 0, 1, 2, 3. For the standard Robinson-Schoenstedt corresponding, it was 0 or 1 only. Matrix was a permutation with only 1, 1, at most 1, 1 each column, at most 1, 1 in each row. Now I have a general matrix where the coefficient can be integer, and the type of the matrix, I will denote AI, the sum of the row number I, and Bj, the sum of the element in column G. So I go straight away with an example. Here is a matrix with integer coefficient. And the way I look Robinson-Schoenstedt Knuth, I look at this as a particular case of Robinson-Schoenstedt. It's maybe strange to extend RS by taking a property, going back to RS with a special property. So to go back to RS, you see, you move a little the point. In each row, you move the point. See, I move the point so that in each row, the points are going to be a strictly increasing sequence of points. In each column also, each point is going to be a strictly increasing sequence. Just move just a little to get in green, increasing sequence, strictly increasing sequence in my diagram, strictly increasing sequence in the column. So each point here, it's at the northeast of the other point. And you get a permutation. You see, this was the first, let's say, for example, 2. So this was the first, this row is this point. See, 2, 1 is here. It's an increasing sequence. If I take 1, 1, 1, this is this point here. Or if you take this big column, third column with 5, 1, this is 5 points. So you get a permutation. It's just moving a little the point, going back to permutation, then apply Robinson-Schoenstedt for the permutation.
Can you go back to how? So the second row, those 2 points, 6, 6. What are the labels?
These 2 points here are 2, 2. Second row here, 1, 1. Ah, here. Oh, no, no, it's, I cannot read. What is this point doing? There is a mistake, yes. 6, 6, 6. No, there is 3 points here, 2, 1. So the 2, the
6th row from the bottom, and second column from the left.
So this 6 here come from this value, this point, which is at the top of the column, of this column here, and the 2 come. I put 2 points. I replace the 2 by 2 points in increasing sequence.
The column number and row number from the bottom.
Yes, sorry, I use a French notation. French.
So that 5
So see, if you look here, see, the first row of the matrix was this 1, 1, 1. This was the first row. Now the second row was 2, 2. The third row was 3, 3, 3. So the number here, which are repeated, each correspond to each row of the matrix. And the number here, you see each column, this was the first column, then 2, 2, second column, then 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, this big column with 5 points, here, which are here. Then 4, 4, 5, 5, 5, 5. So you have a permutation, and each column corresponds to a strictly increasing sequence of consecutive points, and each row it's an increasing sequence of increasing point in the same row of the. And so if I apply, you see, if I apply Robinson-Schonstedt, I get this pair of tableaux. So if you apply the standard Robinson-Schonstedt for permutation, all the black point should be, there's 6 black line coming, this 3, 3, 2, this 1. So in the Robinson-Schonstedt, this will be all different numbers. But now I put them together, 1, 1, 1. I should have put 1 index A, 1 index B, 1 index C. The permutation was, in fact, I would distinguish all the different ones, distinguish all the different value 2, distinguish all of the different value 3. Now I'd confuse them. All the one in the same row are going to give exactly 1. So I get what is called a semi-standard Young tableau. I will define what is a semi-standard Young tableau. So if you want to have a more precise picture, you see here you see your matrix. In each cell there is many points. So maybe there is no point, maybe there is 2 points like this, etc. So you put in each row, you see, I put my black point going increasing in the n by n lattice. In each column also I put the point going increasing the northeast in the lattice. So I get a permutation and I apply the classical Robinson-Schonstedt correspondence. And then in these 3 different points, will give the same 1, 1, 1, 1. Each of these points, or these 2 points, will give 2, 2, etc. So you see this, the 3 here in the Q symbol, there is so it's 5 line coming here, so there will be 5 points, the value 3 appear 5 times in the Q symbol. So you have to prove that this, what I get, is a bijection with a pair of semi-standard Young tableau. So what is semi-standard Young tableau? So definition, you take a shape, lambda, and semi-standard Young tableau, SSYT, is a filling of the Ferrer diagram associated to the partition with integer bigger or equal to 1, such that they go increasing in each row from left to right, and they go increasing in column from bottom to top. So they go weakly increasing in row and strictly increasing in column. So this is a very classical semi-standard Young tableau. And I have to give a proof that if I take any matrix, this process of changing the matrix into a permutation and then reducing into in each row and column to the equal value, and I get a pair of 2 tableaux, I have to prove that this is semi-standard Young tableau. When I was working with the permutation, the big permutation, where I make a distinction between all the 1, all the 2, all the 3, then I get a pair of standard Young tableau. But I have to show that reducing all the points in the same row to the same value, I have to show that the pair of standard Young tableau becomes a pair of semi-standard Young tableau. So to prove this, I need a property of the classical Robinson-Schonstedt correspondence for permutation. And this property is based on the fact that in each row, the points are increasing. In each column, the points are increasing sequence to the northeast. So what happens when I have a permutation where I have an increasing such a sequence? So in fact, it's the advance and the rises or descent of the permutation which I need to have a property relating the advance, rises or backward, or rises and descent of the permutation. So first I state the theorem, which I'm going to prove, that this is what I have get here, with a bijection between a matrix M and a pair PQ of semi-standard Young tableau. The type of P is A1, A2, AK. The type of Q is B1, B2, BK. What means the type of the Young tableau? A1 is the number of 1, A2 is the number of 2, etc. AI is the number of times the integer I appear. And in Q, the same. Bj is the number of times J appear in the Young tableau Q. And this number of times they appear is exactly the type of the matrix. The sum of the element in each row or sum of the element in each column means the number of points, of black point I have put in each row, or number of black points in each column. So the proof of this theorem rely on this notion of I call an advance. When I have an advance of a permutation, means that x plus 1, take any value x, which is x equals sigma I. Usually I say I is the index and x is the value. So an advance means x plus 1 is at the right of x in the permutation. So I put in blue here all the advance. For example, 3 is in blue because 4, the next one, is on the right. 4 is in red because this, in French, a recul, and not in English, backward or going backward. The 5, the next one, is at the left. 10, it's black because there is no 11 in the permutation. So you have a sequence, you have a word, advance and backward, and the lemma says that if you take the Robinson-Schonstedt correspondence for a permutation, then you can really look the advance of the permutation inside the P symbol of the permutation. X is an advance in the permutation, if and only if in the tableau, P, the P symbol by Robinson-Schonstedt correspondence, the x plus 1 is located at the southeast of x. Example, here is you see 3, is an advance 4. If I look 3, then you see 3, 4, 4, 5. So if you follow the integer in the tableau, in the P symbol, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, 6, 7, etc. If you follow, we call this in French the ligne de route inside the tableau. This ligne de route is exactly the same as following the blue and red edges going right or left. Here it's going the southeast or going to the northwest. So you can really see the advance of the permutation. And same dual theorem for the descent. It's very classical notion. This is the same as the inverse. If you take the inverse permutation, the advance and backward becomes the rises and descent of the permutation. If you have a permutation like this, 3, 1, 6, 10, 2, 5, 8, 4. Then a descent, we say there is an index I. At the index I, there is a descent of the permutation, if and only if sigma y is strictly bigger than sigma y plus 1, or a rise if sigma y is less than sigma y plus 1. So here you see I put in red 3 go to 1. So this is a descent on the index I. So now on the index 2 and 3, on this index, there is a rise because 6 is bigger than 1, 10 is. So you look 2 consecutive integers. And if the second is bigger than the first one, you will say there is a rise on the index of the first one. So rise and descent are exactly the advance backward of the inverse permutation. And then you have the same theorem, the dual theorem, that if you take the Robinson-Schonstedt correspondence, then there is a rise at the index I of sigma, if and only if I plus 1 is located to the southeast of I in the tableau Q. So you can really read what we call the up-down sequence of the permutation. Up-down sequence, the sequence of index with a rise or a descent, the up-down sequence of a permutation. You can read it on the Young tableau, on the Q symbol. And so combining this with this construction, I can get a proof that I have a correspondence, a map between matrix and pair of semi-standard Young tableau. It's exactly because of the construction I make before. You see, when I make in a single row, when I put all the value, so this is, for example, x, and this is x plus 1, x plus 2, x plus 3. So all these points in the same row, each one is an advance of the other one. There are successive points, x plus 1, x plus 2. So they are going to correspond to some point in the tableau, which are going the southeast. And if you go backward, you have to show that it's strictly, so it's weakly increasing in row and strictly increasing in column. And this is a consequence of my lemma plus the construction transforming a matrix into permutation. Same for column. It's you are going to see it's strictly increasing in column. It's well, just think about it, combining the construction and the lemma about rises, descent, advance, and backward, and you get the proof that it's a semi-standard Young tableau. So this there is other construction in the literature. There is a Fulton matrix Ball construction, which is equivalent to this. It's also the same idea to try to do to split the point in different points to get back to the permutation and make the color line the shadow of the permutation. Also, there is another idea by Amri in his book on representation theory and about what is called the VRSK algorithm. It's also analog taking you take the shadow of the permutation, which would be a line. If I take the shadow from the in his book, he takes from the northwest in the British notation. If you take so you take the shadow line would be this, like this, and then you all the point like this one and like this one. You decrease them by 1. So you delete the first black shadow line, and then you open a new matrix on the right, giving the red point. And then all this point is decreased by 1, and then you continue like this, and continue, and you get the first row of the tableau, and then you continue with the second tableau, give you the red points, and you continue like this. So this idea also is reflect the fact that I transform the matrix into a permutation. So now I am obsessed by local rule, especially on the edges. So what about local rule? Can we rewrite all this instead of Fulton matrix ball with local rule? So let's do it. So if you look carefully at this picture, when you have a matrix, I transform this in a permutation, where each point in a row are increasing, each point in a column are increasing, and I put all this color line, which has the rewriting rule on edges to get a Robinson-Chastain. So if you look at the intersection of the color line, see, it's maybe small, but if you look at the intersection of the color line with the grid, you have many points with color. So if I just keep this, you see, I have some in each cell. I have some word. Here I have a word. If I put a 1, I put index I for the color number I. So black is 1, red is 2, blue is 3, green is 4, etc. So I have a word 2, 1, 1, 1. Here I have the word 2, 2, plus I have a point of the matrix. So there should be a rewriting rule. And to do this, then we know I have defined in previous chapters what I call the reverse RSK planar automaton. So if you have the label 0, 0, give you 0, 0. If you have a point, in case of permutation, you have a point of the permutation, you get 0, 0, get 1, 1. And if you have many cells, then I, J give Ji if they are different. And if they are the same, II give II plus 1. So this was a local rule on edges to get RS Robinson-Chastain. You can rewrite it if you like with color line. And we defined in previous chapters the Robinson RSK product of two words. If I have chapter 1b, page 111. So let's take two words alpha, beta. Any word in integer, like this. Here, alpha, you read from bottom to top. Alpha is the word 1, 3, 1, 3, 2, which correspond to a sequence of color line, which cross these edges. This should be a black color line, a blue color line, a black, a blue. And if you have another word beta, then I have defined the RSK product of this. It's just what you get by applying the rewriting rule. Ij give ji if I and j are different. I give I plus 1, I plus 1. So exactly the rewriting rule you do for color, but here I can do this for any word. You are not necessary to start with a Yamanouchi word or this kind of thing. So you can do for any word, and then you get at the end two word alpha prime, beta prime. And this RSK, it's a bilateral automaton, you can go back. If you have ij, then you're going back is I minus 1, j minus 1. It's reversible.
What are the dots here?
The dot, it's I put a dot like here to when there was I become I plus 1, I plus 1. There is a transition when you don't cross, means I give I plus 1, I plus 1. So when the permutation was 0, 0, give 1, 1. If I take any word, then I don't have any permutation, but you can consider this as a small grid in a big grid coming from a huge permutation. When you change color, the color, yes, they have color because it's an intersection of the line, the red line and the blue line. If you go back to permutation, this was, I have the black line, red line, blue line, so I was putting a blue dot when two red line give two blue line. Or I was putting a green dot when two line over the three, the blue line getting the green line. In fact, we have seen that this is bilateral. You can go back and forth. So if you take all the positive integer here, you get the RS correspondence starting from a permutation. In fact, the permutation here will be the cell where there is a -1, give 1, 1. So this would be a point of the permutation here. So when you go backward, if you have a permutation, when you arrive at 1, 1, then you put 0, 0, and continue 0, 0, 0 everywhere. But instead of putting 0, 0, if you put -1, -1, and continue, then you can go backward on the integer z. So I take all the integer z except the 0. So the negative part will give you again a pair of two Young tableaux, and exactly the same as doing Robinson-Sunset for the northeast, and you will get the dual of P and Q, and here the P and Q here. But it's because I start from a permutation. The permutation is, here is a point of the permutation, the transition -1, give 1, 1. Here I have another point of the permutation. Here another point of the permutation, and here another point, and here another point. But in general, if I take any word like this, I can do this process for any word. I don't need to start from a permutation. So I call this the RS product, alpha, beta. These two words, alpha and beta, give alpha prime, beta prime. I call this the RSK product of the two words. And the RSK product, I can go in one direction or go back to the other direction. I work with all the integers z except the 0. Or you can work with any totally order poset, and you replace when I give I plus 1, I plus 1, or going back the reverse way. So this is the picture. You see, you have many words. You can consider words in the integer 1, 2, 3, etc. It's like an intersection of all these color lines on these edges, intersection of all these color lines with edges, and I take the alpha, beta, give alpha prime, beta prime. I call this RSK. I should put RSK. Because I am the case of Knut. So I call this the RSK product of two words. And now when I have a matrix, general matrix, so this is the case where I have a cell of the matrix. I go back to my matrix M. I have a cell of the matrix, and there is nothing on the cell. So you just, all these lines are going to cross, all these lines are going to cross, and in the process of product, of course, there is some change of color. Anytime there is I plus 1, then give another color I plus 1, I plus 1. Now, if you have a cell of the matrix with k points, the value is k, there is k points, so you can define the rewriting rule for the general Knut correspondence. This will give you two words, alpha double prime, beta double prime. First, I take the product, RSK product of alpha and beta, and then I define alpha double prime, beta double prime to be this RSK product, and concatenate with a number of 1, which is exactly k times if there is a value k in the permutation. See, the picture is this, you see. So this is a part of the big matrix where there are all the color line of the coming from the, when I transform the matrix into a permutation. So there was this intersection, you have to do the RSK product of alpha and beta. And because why I put this point here? It's because in column and row, the black points are increasing. So you see, so these points are increasing in the cell itself, but because the points which are below in the matrix, they're on the left of this part. So this is why the many color lines are coming from below, because all the black points on the same column, by convention, I put them in increasing order. Also, same reason in a row. All these points are above all the points I can put in the left in the same row. And this is the reason why you see you have this rule, this writing rule. You just suppose you have two words alpha beta, then your new word alpha beta beta prime will be the RSK product of the two, which is defined by the bilateral RSK automata with very simple rewriting rule on the edges, multiplied by you concatenate a certain number of 1. Example, suppose there is 0 of the matrix, no point. Then your word alpha is 3, 2, 2, blue, red, red. Beta is red, it's blue, blue, red, red, 3, 3, 2, 2. Then alpha prime is 4, 3, 3, because you see there is somewhere, we have the blue, blue. If you apply the rule of rewriting inside this cell, the RSK product of alpha beta will give you this new 3, 3, 2, 2, 4, 3, 3. There is a change of colors inside this cell. And because there is no point at all in the matrix, 0, so I have alpha double prime, beta double prime equals this. Now I have another example where, see, alpha equal black, black, beta equal red, black, black, black. So alpha equal 1, 1, beta is 2, 1, 1, 1, 1, and beta prime becomes 2, 2, 2, 1. Alpha prime is replaced by 2, 2. It's just a change of color inside by the local rule, classical rule of RS. And then because there is a point here, you have to add oh, this is not the good. No, this is, you have to add 1 times only. This is only 1, 1, and only 1, 1 here. Because there is only 1 point. There is a point of the permutation of the matrix. K equal 1 is the matrix. If K equal 1, so this would be a red shadow line, giving this point here and this point here. Let's look at the big matrix. So this is my big matrix, and here, see, when you start from the empty shape, and going from this to this, then you are adding 3 points in the first row. So you are adding 3 cells in the first row. Then you have red, black. So I am adding a cell in the second row and a cell in the first row. Now I am doing blue, red, red, which means I am adding a cell in the third row and 2 cells in the second row. So you see the color you read here, each time it's the word beta, give you how many cells you are adding, and the color tell you in which row, color 1 in first row, color 2 in second row, etc., etc. And now if you want to have the local rule, now look the local rule, I take this diagram here. So you have the 4 diagram, and each diagram, see, is deduced from the other one by adding a certain number of cells, adding a row, but adding a certain number of cells, such that there is at most 1 cell in each column. You add at most 1 cell in each column, then adding this cell is given exactly by the word alpha and beta, alpha prime, beta prime. And so you see this single cell here is exactly the cell I have considered before with alpha beta. The RS product alpha beta gives you alpha prime beta prime. And the Ferret diagram here was this one, and multiplied by beta means you're adding 2 cells at the third row and 2 cells at the second row. This gives you this. Now if I apply this, I am adding 1 cell at the third row, 2 cells second row, this gives you this, and then beta prime, alpha prime. So from the change of color here, with the rule transforming the word alpha as a operator adding a row in the Ferret diagram, you can deduce probably the Fomin, analog of Fomin local rule, now in the general case RSK. But this was the case where there was no, the matrix was 0. That's the second case, which is here, you see, where there was a point, k equal 1, there is a black point in the cell coming from the matrix. So this black point give you these 2 black points here, which correspond to the first shadow in black. And then you have again this local rule for Ferret diagram, which would be deduced from the local rule of the transforming of edges. So when I write, you say with for this example, then you see there's a kind of analog of transformation in the local rule of Fomin with now some word alpha, beta, alpha prime, beta prime. And this would be this case with only one here.
How does the order of the colors matter? I mean, even if you put the black on the left.
No, the word you get can be any word. There is no order at all. Here you see I get 2, 2, 3, 2, 2. It can be in the middle of the, it can be any word. You see, if you look, any word can happen. Like this, you have green, green, blue, blue. There is in one cell, I have the product alpha, beta, which can be any sequence of colors.
It doesn't matter as far as the rewriting is concerned, whether it's green, green, blue, blue, or green, blue, blue, green. I mean,
oh, the order is very important. The order. It's like when you take the general picture of the general RSK product, which was any numbers. So if you interchange some numbers, of course, it's going to change. It's like analog of Knuth transposition. If you do some transposition which are not the Knuth case, you are going to have problems. But of course, if I start from, I start from 0, 0, 0. There's no color at all everywhere. So the starting point is 0 everywhere. So I don't start from scratch. Of course, if I was starting from any word here, I would be starting from a big permutation which was started before. It's a big matrix. Here I am starting from 0, 0, this is why in the process there is a Yamanouchi property like in the Robinson state. This is why you are going to get semi-standard Young tableau.
What I'm trying to say is the number of balls of a certain color is the number of boxes you add to the corresponding row. If there are 3 red balls, then that means you're adding 3 boxes to the second row.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't matter actually whether those 3 come before.
Yeah.
And I think in general, in fact, even the product will not depend on whether you put them before or after, even though.
Yeah. Yes. So now dual RSK. Amri was asking for a dual RSK. 2 days ago I came to my office and it was wrong, but now I think I have corrected the right rewriting rule for dual RSK. So dual RSK works with matrix AJ equals 0 or 1. And then the dual RSK is the correspondence between such matrix and a pair PQ, such that P is a semi-standard tableau of shape lambda, and Q is a semi-standard tableau of shape lambda prime, where lambda prime denote the conjugate of lambda. So again, I give an example, and again, I am going to move my point. So if you did not understand clearly what I was doing, moving the point, so I make an animation to move the point on this case of a matrix with 0, 1. So look carefully. First, I move the point in the row so that in increasing sequence. You see, I just move a little. And then I move the point in the column so that in each column now it's a decreasing sequence. Instead of being increasing, they are going to be decreasing inside each column. And you get this. So in blue, it's increasing sequence in each row, and in column, decreasing sequence in each column. And this is an example of all the shadow line. And I have to show that I get a pair. So the P symbol is again a semi-standard Young tableau. Semi-standardness comes from the property that in each row the points are going increasing. So I have an advance x plus 1, x plus 2, x plus 3, which will give me the position of them in the matrix. And this is the sequence of Ferrer. So here I put some colors. I put black for when I put the first row, red when I put the blue when I put the third row, etc. So here you see are the color of the increasing tableau. This is the sequence of semi-standard tableau. Each time I add a new sequence of a new row. In fact, I am adding cell according to the color of I am crossing in for each row. And the color, see, I put the color, the cell. Here I have the word blue, red, red. So I have added a blue cell in the third row and added 2 red cells in the second row. So you have a sequence of Ferrer like this, which give you this sequence of, you can recognize the sequence of Ferrer in the semi-standard tableau. If you restrict to the value 1, then take the Ferrer corresponding to the value 1 to 2, then the Ferrer restricted to 1 to 3. It's exactly, each time you add a new value, all the 3, all the 4, all the 5 is exactly given by this rule, reading the word, the beta word of color in each column. And now why I have the Q? In fact, if I write the Q as I am doing the classical RS correspondence for permutation, I would get this one, which is not. It has the same shape as P, but you see now it's strictly increasing in row and weakly increasing in column. And the proof, this comes from the fact I have, in each column, I put a decreasing subsequence, and I apply my lemma again, that if I have decreasing subsequence, if I have a descent from I to I plus 1, that means that I plus 1 is that it's at the southeast of I, or I minus 1 is the northwest of I, and this will give you a semi-standard. This will give you a tableau with strictly increasing in row and weakly increasing in column. This comes directly from the fact that when you have descent, then you can see the rises and descent of the permutation in the Q symbol. And because the convention of decreasing in each column, you can easily check that you get this kind of tableau. So if I want to have a semi-standard classical Young tableau, you just take the mirror image, take the conjugate partition, and you get back this Q. So you get a pair P and Q of P is a shape lambda, semi-standard Young tableau, and Q is of shape, the transpose of lambda and semi-standard also. And if you read now, if I have the sequence, each of this sequence of words give you a sequence of Ferrer diagram. So here you see I have I have black, red, blue, means I am adding 3 cells at the same time in one column. At row first, row 2, row 3. Second step, when I read this word, then I am adding 2 cells in here. I am adding a cell in the row number 4. So if you read this sequence of this word alpha, you will get a sequence of Ferrer. Each time you add the cell at certain row, depending on the letter of the word. So you get this sequence, you see, and this sequence is the same as the sequence of shape you get by taking all the value 1, all value 1 and 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 4. So you have a sequence, increasing sequence of Ferrer shape. It's not a maximal chain, and this is increasing sequence of shape is encoded by this color line here. So again, the proof rely on this argument that having a descent inside the row, you can read the descent in the Q symbol, and the convention to put all column by a descent give you this proof. And so I deduce that the dual RSK that I have a bijection between matrix with 0 and 1 and pair PQ of P of shape lambda, Q of shape lambda prime. And this is a dual local rule. So first, you have two in a cell, 2 word alpha beta arriving of color line. Then I define beta prime alpha prime to be the RSK product of alpha and beta. And in case there is a 0, then you get this local rule rewriting. In case there is only one point, you have this picture. When you have one point, remember when there was a general RSK, the point were here, the black point. Now you have this picture because this point is above all this color line arriving because in the row it's increasing. But this point is on the left of all this because in the column the points are decreasing. So all the black points below this row are coming from the left. So the black point is here. So there's only one. So which give you two, will give you some. So see when I'm going to alpha prime beta prime is going to be sorry. First I take first you add this black point here. You see, because all this color line plus this one are going to cross all this. So I add the point 1, the value 1 to alpha. I concatenate alpha and 1. And then I take the product, RSK product of alpha 1 and beta. The RSK product of alpha concatenated by 1, because there is a black point here, and beta. So all this line plus the black one is going to cross here. Maybe it will not be no more black here. It's going to cross all this and color will change. So I call this alpha prime, beta prime. And then the rule, rewriting rule is that alpha double prime, the word I get here in the local rule is alpha prime. And beta double prime, the word I get here will be 1 concatenate with beta prime. So I think it's correct. Do you agree, Amri? Putting this point here, see, it was just adding at alpha prime, beta prime. You were just adding a 1 at both sides of alpha prime, beta prime. But now putting the point here, you are not going to add a 1 at the left of each of them. Because the 1 has to go, this black line, has to go through has to intersect all the line coming from below. So this is why I have to concatenate alpha and 1, and then make the product with beta. So all this is going to change. So take the product, the 1 is incorporated in the product of alpha and beta, and at the end, then the 1 is concatenated at the left of beta prime. So I think this is a rewriting rule for the dual RSK. But you can ask why not to put, there is 4 different cases. I can put my black point here, which was the case before, increasing in row and column, but I can put it here, or I can put here. So there is 4 RSK.
Yeah, so you get probably the Birch correspondence and one is
Not yet. I have to, probably, yes.
90-degree rotation.
Yes. I have to think about the Birch correspondence. There is 4 different cases. So if you put the point here, you say there will be analog formula. If you put the point here, so it depends on, in each row you can make increasing or decreasing sequence. In each column, increasing, decreasing, so there is 4 different cases. Both increasing give you the RSK. Increasing in row and decreasing column give you dual RSK, but there will be dual of dual RSK, and dual of dual RSK would be probably analog of the RSK.
It's dual RSK with the rule of the rows and columns.
So you just, so it's in fact mainly up to isomorphism. There's only two correspond, RSK and dual RSK.
Well,
Birch is something more. With you take account of the diagonal with Birch.
So Littlewood has
Littlewood.
Two identities which involve integer matrices. One is RSK and the other is also called a Birch correspondence. Birch has many.
So even there is an app in the Apple Store. I tried to find it, but I found it a few years ago. So, on iPad, but on iPad you can download, and there's all the different construction, and you can play also with the light and shadow, and there is all the construction, Taquin, all possible nice algorithm related to RSK. You can play with it, and so now I will finish with going back to some complement and to going back to the Robinson-Schonstedt correspondence, the RS correspondence. And we have seen in RS correspondence, in the general case, instead of taking a permutation, when you take any Ferrer diagram, you have some Rook placement. So it's a Rook placement in a Ferrer board, you see here, like. So here it's a Rook placement. There is at most one Rook in each row and column. But suppose there is exactly one row in each row and column, which is the case here. Right? You have in each column there is a black point. In each row there is a black point. And then I claim that what I get is an oscillating tableau. So oscillating tableau means you start from the empty diagram, you finish with the empty diagram, and each time you go from one Ferrer to another Ferrer, and else you add a cell, or else you delete a cell. And so if you do the light and shadow process, you get a sequence of line here, which means black line means you add a point at the first row, you add a point at the second row, etc. And when you go down, it's a delete operator, deleting a cell at the first, second, or third row according to the color. So you get exactly a bijection. It's very easy to see that this is a bijection between oscillating tableau, going from the empty diagram to the empty diagram, and the Rook placement where there is exactly one Rook in each row and column. So this was the thesis of Shala Sundaram. She was working in representation theory of other group, SO, etc. This is some deep, very beautiful representation theory. And instead of standard Young tableau, you have oscillating tableau appearing. And she shows that this oscillating tableau are in bijection with involution with no fixed point. And the proof comes from this picture. And there is a bijection between, so the first bijection being Rook placement and second of oscillating tableau starting empty cell to empty cell. Now, how to see from this picture, from this Rook placement, how to see a permutation, an involution. Just take this cell. You remember you have two different representations of the quadratic algebra UD minus DU equal identity. One representation was giving Robinson-Schonstedt. The second representation was giving inversion table. So here I am in the second rotation. This green cell is the inversion table, and what it means in fact it means the following. So to get one rook in each row and column, then the border of the diagram will be a dig pass. It's necessarily that the upper border, says you have the whole diagram is below, but the upper border is a dig pass. And then here, for example, I have to choose to put one rook. There is 3 different cells. So there is 3 different ways to put one rook. So I have chosen I have chosen choice number 2. The choice, this was choice number 1, and this is choice number 2. Now the next one, there is 5 possible choices, because now I have a 6 cell, but 1 cell is forbidden. I cannot put my rook below this rook here. So I have 6 minus 1 equals 5 possibility, and I took possibility number 3. So I am numbering the choice from right to left. So this is choice number 1, choice number 2, choice number 3. So this number here, which are exactly 1 plus the number of this yellow cell, is kind of inversion table of the rook placement. It's just the history. So you have a sequence, you have a dig pass. Each time the red numbers, it's the height, the distance between these vertical edges and the diagonal, and the blue number, you choose one of a possibility between 1 and this distance. So this is, we go back to, I go fast because if you want to understand clearly, go back to part 1 of the class about the chapter about permutation, the n factorial word. And so from this rook placement, give you a dig pass with the blue numbers, number of choice to put your different rook row by row, you get these blue numbers. And then the bijection with an involution, such dig pass with the blue numbers is called an Hermite history, because it's related to the moment of the Hermite polynomial. And then there is a classical bijection which sends you into involution. If you follow the dig pass, you do like this. So follow so the first step, you go east. So the first step is east, east, east. You open then the next step is you going down. So I am going to close one of these edges, and there is 3 possibilities. I am going to connect the 4 with one of these 3 possibilities. And I take choice number 2. So I am numbering the choice from right to left, I think. You can also number from left to right. So this is choice number 2. Then I go tack, tack, tack. And then I have 5 different choices for the next one. I have 5 choices, and I take choice number 3, which is this was the first choice, second, third. And you continue like this. So you read the dig pass. You have a certain number. Each time you go east, you open a new possibility, which means, you see, when in your Ferrier diagram, you are reading row by row, and each time you have a certain number of choice, and you put a rook in this number of choice, and then once the rook is positioned, then there is no possibility to put any rook below, and this is translated exactly by this diagram, and this is translated by this construction. Okay, and at the end you get exactly an oscillating tableau, so which are involved in rotation theory, are in bijection with involution with no fixed point. And you can extend this bijection in general if there is some row or column which are empty. So if you take any rook placement, it's going to be in bijection with some, you will have some more general than involution. It will, if you follow, so you can, when you have color point, mean you are putting some arc, you are connecting some arc in your diagram. If there is no point like here, 0, 0. If there is no color at all, mean you are doing a fixed point of the involution. And so the bijection is like this. So to the border of my Ferrer board, which can be any path, you get 30 seconds of opening a pair or closing a pair. So you have a sequence, east, east, south step, east. So you have any word which gives you the border of this. And then if you follow, you get this each time. For example, when this I open, and each time you close. The same construction as before, analog construction, but some edges, you see, when there is nobody at the east step, nobody at the south step, then it will be some arcs which are open. They are not closed. So these arcs which are open are going to be the fixed point of the involution, but there is two kinds of fixed point. It can be going to the right or going to the left. So I call this so oscillating. This is an oscillating tableau, but sometimes you rest. So people call this sometimes vacillating tableau, hesitating tableau. It's different. Stammering tableau. It's stammering tableau. So there is different kind of tableau. It's oscillating tableau, and sometimes you just make a pause. You don't do anything. But in this bijection, sometimes when you don't do anything, there is two different ways to not to do anything. When you have a north-east step label 0 or a south step label 0, which correspond to two different kind of fixed point in your involution. So there is many different in the literature: oscillating, vacillating, hesitating. Here it's slightly different because when I rest, I have two color in. Also, it's very classical that if you make a rook placement on the staircase board like this, if you make any rook placement, then this is in bijection with partition. So exercise, find a bijection. In the spirit of this bijection between involution and the history, you are doing an history, you are doing something. Each time you have a certain number of choice. In the spirit of this bijection, oscillating tableau, involution, no fixed point. Find a bijection between rook placement in a staircase shape now and partition of set. So the shape with n row and n column with k rooks will give you a partition with on n+1 element and n+1 minus k block. And if I apply now the Robinson-Schoenstatt construction, the shadow and all this, so this partition, this rook placement is in bijection with something like this, which will be a sequence of Ferrer where you add a cell, you delete a cell, or you do nothing in two different ways. So this is related to what is called vacillating or hesitating tableau. There is a paper in Transaction of IMS by Stanley and a Chinese colleague. It's not exactly the same tableau because when you rest, there is no choice to be, and because of staircase, so sometimes you are going to have a construction adding or deleting only on even position or odd position. So exercise is to read the part of the paper and reprove it using the RS construction with shadow line and everything. Also read this paper of Joshua Vergès. All this is related. So I have more. I have not finished chapter 1. I don't want to go back. What can I do? So there is a series of exercise, series of complement. Maybe everybody is after 1 hour and a half. There is we continue 5-10 minutes, and I will finish chapter 1. So the weak theorem, I have when I take this partition, there was some proof. Many physicists, I have many papers. We prove that the rook placement is in bijection with partition. And they use Wick theorem. Wick theorem, you have two operators, annihilation and creation operator. And for boson, you have this commutation relation. But in physics notation, the operator go from right to left. In my notation, they go from left to right. So there's a Hilbert space and the Fock space. And when you add a particle with n elements, you have a factor square root of n. If you delete, you have a square root n plus 1. But when you are in combinatorics, when you add a point, it's n. When you delete, it's 1. Or else, or n plus 1 and 1. So this is what we call last class. Polya urn or priority queue, we put integer. Here I say, because what is important for the theory of orthogonal polynomial, all this, is in fact the product of all of this. So the product will give you n or n plus 1, and there will be no square root. And so the Wick theorem tells you that this is very classical polynomial. The Wick theorem tells you how to expand when you have a word W, and if you do the commutation relation ud equal du plus identity, you have a unique polynomial to expand like this, and Wick theorem tells you that this polynomial is obtained by applying the double dot operation to the sum of all possible pairing you can do by pairing a u with a d. So what is a double dot operation? Sometimes there's some ambiguity in physics papers. The double dot is when you have a word in u and d, you put all the d on the left of the u on the right. So it's just a abelian image of the word. So take a word in d and u, like this one, and then take all possible pairing. So maybe you take one, no pairing. So if you take double dot, this gives you d to the square, u to the 4. Take one pairing. So this will give you ud, for example. And so you take a certain number of pairing u and d, you delete them, and then apply the double dot operation. If you take the sum of all this, you will get this unique polynomial. So this was also papers by my friend Duchamp and other physicists about this, Wick theorem, partition, root placement, everything. It shows the bell number, the number of partitions appearing. So with our interpretation, with rewriting rule, planarization of rewriting rule, and we have seen that the coefficient on this expansion, the coefficient here of Cij of W, we have seen that it is just you have just to count how many such you have to count how many Q tableau, how many placement of tower in the Ferrier diagram. And that what means a pairing of U and D is just when you replace UD par 1. So a pairing is just corresponds to the green point. And if you look carefully, this visualization of the rewriting rule U and D is exactly the Wick theorem put in a planar way, saying that the coefficient is the number of Q tableau, of complete Q tableau, which are in relation with Q tableau. So maybe this gives you a rigorous proof, visual proof of the Wick theorem that pairing is just the green point, and all possible green point in the root placement give you all possible word. Because if you delete the green point, the D, you see the D to the square and the U to the 5 is exactly what you get when you delete the pair UD. This corresponds to a certain pair UD. This corresponds to another pair UD. And you delete them and make the double dot operation, exactly making this word, deleting the row, deleting the column, and taking what happened at the border. Also, you can represent, you see, this adding or deleting a cell. The Polya urn can be also represented by product by X or derivative. And you can have many particles with boson fermion. When you have fermion, instead of the Lie bracket, you have UD plus DU. So which corresponds to put Q equal -1. If you put the Q, the number of inversion in the rewriting, you have -1. And I will finish with the differential poset is when you have UD equal du plus identity. Then there is some extension we have seen for the Young lattice is a differential poset. There is some extension to other poset. And this is the Young Fibonacci lattice, for example. there is a certain order relation. This is a certain lattice, which is here. When you have a point W, it's some word in U1 and 2. And then 1W will cover the word W. And the word 2V will cover the word W as soon as V covers is covering by W. So with these two conditions, you get a lattice, which is called the Young-Fibonacci lattice. And exercise, the number of elements of this lattice in each level is exactly the Fibonacci numbers. So we call this a graded poset. The rank at the level is just a digit sum of the numbers. 2 count for 2, 1 count for 2, and you have the rank function, the sum of all the digits. And you see here I am at level, the sum of the digit is 2, the sum of the digit is 3, the sum of the digit is 4, sum is 5, etc. And then there is a bijection between involution and maximal chain going from the 0 level to n element x, and bijection with permutation and pair of such maximal chain going from 0 to an element x in the rank n. So this is the analog of the Young lattice. Its work the same. And in fact, such posets are called differential poset. So there is a definition of differential poset. And I leave you the slide to see the definition. And in fact, so there is a whole theory by Fomin, Stanley, Robbie of differential poset. And in fact, in a differential poset, the U operator and D operator, when you U operator, you take all the sum of the element of the poset above X, Y, the D, all the elements below. Then you have, again, in a differential poset, this relation UD minus DU equal identity. And in the differential poset, you have also the same relation as in a Young poset, that the number of evolution is in bijection with chain, maximal chain, and when you go up and down, you get in factorial. Okay, I will finish. Plastic monoid. There will be many other beautiful things, plastic monoid and Littlewood Richardson rule, but maybe I can make a complement lecture at the end of the course in March or April. Okay, so this is the end of chapter 1. So other chapter will not be so long. There was 5 parts of chapter 1. So chapter 2 will be, we will work a general setting for the cellular Z. And then chapter 3 will be the second main example coming from the PASEP in physics with the quadratic algebra, dE equal ED plus E plus D. And then we will go to the more general quadratic algebra and more general Q-tableau with the Alexandre matrices, tiling, 6-vertex model, 8-vertex model, Ising model, all this under the same roof. Okay, thank you very much.